So I never told my parents about my experience about the Grim Reaper. They would think I'm insane, which I'm not at all. But hear me out in this one. Death is frequently imagined as a personified force. In some mythologies, a character known as the Grim Reaper causes the victim's death by coming to collect that person's soul. So, around March, my grandpa suffered a massive heart attack, and thank God he is okay. He was at the hospital at Stanford Hospital. But what happened was, my grandma called me like around 4 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I was listening to my sleepy music and got a phone call. As soon my phone was lit up and the brightness hit my ceiling. I looked to my left and I saw my contact, Grandma and Papa, and it was strange to call me around that time. I picked up as soon as possible. On the other end, my grandma was freaking out, like she has like the worst anxiety ever. She told me, "Your grandpa had a heart attack." My heart skipped at least several beats. I ran and told Dad, and he woke up as fast and told my mom. Now the whole house is woken up by the scary phone call. My mom and Dad decided to go to Stanford Hospital, and I asked them if I can go. They said yes, hurry. I slapped on some clothes that I wore yesterday from school, and I jumped in the car. It took us 40 minutes to get there, but we made it in time. The hospital was empty, with people like my grandpa's age, unhealthy, and sick patients trying to recover. My parents told me to wait here, and I did, and I was praying to God to let my grandpa live longer. 20 minutes passed by, and I saw a black shadow figure on the corner of my eye. I stayed still, and I was scared. The figure had no legs and was free floating, like a fifth from the ground. And I went into the sick patient's room. I turned and went to the room where the black figure went. As soon as I went into this old and sick patient's room, she was dead. Her skin turned pale, like she'd seen a ghost, and her paleness skin is filling her body up. And I thought to myself, is that a demon? What the hell? And I thought again and again and again. And I said, it's not important at the moment. I need to find a nurse. I ran to the front desk around the corner, and I said, someone passed away from over in that room. And the female nurse said, oh no. She was really shocked at the time. I could see it from her face. She called up the doctors in panic, and the nurse started crying. I tried to calm her down. I told her her spirit is resting right now. And she calmed down a little, and I told her I'll be right back. And I ran to where my grandpa was at, and in the blink of an eye, I saw the same figure went by me again. I turned my head to the right a little. What I've pictured is a black robe, 6'6" man with a scythe in hand. And though I said, holy shit, that's the Grim Reaper, I stand still, didn't move a single bit. As soon as the doctors cut the corner, the Grim Reaper disappeared from my sight. As soon as the doctors told me to move out of the way, or I'm gonna get ran over. I ran in the room where my grandpa was in, and I told my mom, someone has passed away. And she said, who? And I replied, an old lady must have passed away, but I saw her body turn pale during the process as soon as she was dying. My mom felt sorry, and I told my mom that I literally saw the Grim Reaper. And she replied, those are demons, TJ. They're just messing with you. I convinced my mom as hard as I can, but she didn't believe me one bit. She told me to go outside because I need some air. and I haven't gotten that much sleep. So I did. I proceeded to go outside out of the hospital, and I looked at the hospital building and looked at one of the windows, and I made out someone. A black silhouette of a tall man looking at me and faintly disappearing, and I blinked and it was gone. I thought to myself, this is probably my hallucinations, or probably I'm scaring myself. But I ran upstairs to where the black figure was, and I went to the room. It was dark, and I saw another dead patient. Mind you, it was like at 4 o'clock in the morning, and hardly no one from the bottom floor and the top floor. They're mostly empty. I looked in the room, and the body was pale as usual, and I left the room. Told the front desk that there's another dead body. They rushed in there. I exited out of the room. I was frozen again. I stayed still. In the corner of my eye, I saw the Reaper again. This time it was frozen too, and pointed the room that where my parents were in. I ran as fast as possible. I opened the door and rushed. It sat right next to my grandpa, and I was looking at the window. I saw a fast shadow pass my grandpa's room, and I didn't bother moving that night, nor leaving my grandpa's side and the room. And my mom, she sees the fear in my eyes. She told me, "Is there something wrong? Looks like you have been seeing a ghost." I didn't say anything after that, but when it hit 6 o'clock, we decided to leave. 2 weeks passed by. My grandpa finally was released from the hospital later on Friday on March 20th. I made the last phone call to my grandpa to check up on how he's doing. Around midnight, we got a phone call from my grandma, crying and saying that Papa had a heart attack again, but it went fatal. We went to the hospital, and me and my dad rushed into the room where my grandpa passed away at. I opened the curtains. I dropped down to my knees to see my grandpa had died. I teared up. My grandma was crying terribly, and I walked away in sadness, and I see the same black shadow standing far from me, and it approached me, and it went past by me, and I heard a demonic voice telling me everything is gonna be okay. And that's when I last saw the Reaper and talked to me for the first time in person. I could take away from this experience is that the Reaper lives around hospitals on sick and dead patients, and it scares me. The patients who are suffering. It's hard to think and dream about it. I'll never forget it at all. I miss you, Papa, terribly.